All right, it is a Friday, which means one thing, and we get to start things off on a very fast-paced show, the only way that we traditionally do Fridays.
Come on, man. Go for it, dude.
It's Friday. Friday. Day.
It's Friday, and it means that we got to fly. So here is the deal with the show. First half hour, we got a lot of news to get into, most of it international. And we're going to go through headlines, and unfortunately, some of the stuff is behind a paywall, although the particular entity that we are referencing is running a special for the next 6 months. So if you're interested, it would be requested required reading. It's $1. Just make sure that you dump out before the end of January of 2027. So we're going to get into that. There's a lot to get into. 9:30, Dave Leno, opposition research, getting us ready for Philadelphia and Atlanta. 9:45, because of Dave. Dave is having to juggle an assistant producer. And availability for Dave turned into 9:30. So we will gratefully accept Dave at 9:30, Michael Parkhurst at 9:45, Steve Cangialosi at 10 o'clock, Jalil Anibaba at 10:15. Then we get you ready for the weekend in Major League Soccer. Then we get caught up on all the other news, notes, and things that will get you ready for the weekend. Reminder, 3:30 pregame today on the network, Atlanta United 2 hosting Carolina Core. Battle in the Eastern Conference and MLS Next Pro. Atlanta United 2 needs to keep the beat. And if they win the matchup against Core at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, that would put them in fourth place. I believe things have not changed. Okay, so it would be fourth place in the Eastern Conference. Crown Legacy at 40, Crew 2 at 39, Chattanooga FC at 37, Revs at 36, OCB at 35, Atlanta United 2 at 33, 10 wins, one of three teams in the East with 10. They win, they go to 36. They'd be in fourth to start the weekend. 3:30 pregame, 4 o'clock kick. I'll have your pregame and your halftime. Maddie will have your call, and we'll take you through that to kick off the weekend. Remember, tomorrow, 7:40, it is Atlanta United, Philadelphia Union, 92.9, the game on the Odyssey app. Abe and Maddie have your Five Stripes countdown starting at 6:30, kickoff 7:40, and the full-time report after across the network. So that's the stuff this weekend to keep an eye on when it comes to here in the footprint in and of itself. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com, here from the Kaiser Permanente studios. We could not do anything without our friends at Kaiser Permanente. So it is a very, very busy day. Opening kickoff, starting a day with the most important stories in the game. The right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. All right. It's been a very, very busy morning internationally. So here is, and this, a lot of this is funneled through what we know from Martin Ziegler. And we're going to kind of work backward here a little bit. I know that a lot of this will probably shock you. Apparently, 2 hours ago, it was released that FIFA issued a brief to expand the World Cup to 64 teams, the decision by August the 14th. That is not a surprise, nor should it be. It is a research brief that has been formulated and pushed out to anyone who would be willing to read the 5-page document. Background and purpose listed in the research brief. FIFA is considering the strategic implications of a possible expansion of the FIFA World Cup beyond the current format. Therefore, FIFA wishes to appoint an independent agency to determine whether and how expanding the FIFA World Cup from 48 to 64 participating national teams starting with the 2030 edition would impact on the tournament proposition and on the football ecosystem. Decision to appoint an agency to be taken by August the 14th, who would then have 4 weeks to complete the analysis in time of the proposed September 19th deadline for associations to vote on selling off the World Cup stake. Once again, that is from Martin Ziegler. So right now, you're looking at, and as of all of these confederations have put all of their votes behind folks, right now you need 150 of the 211 to vote against a proposal for it to stick as a no. UEFA's at 55. Then you have other confederations that have limited, that they have the numbers that are posted, but because of eligibilities and such, right now you're looking at CONCACAF at 35, UEFA at 55, and the Asian Federation at 46. So that puts them at 136. You're basically 15 nations away from getting a no on any kind of a clear majority of ideas. So 211, and you need 150. It can't be just a simple majority of 106. So in play, you have 75. You have Oceania's 11, CONMEBOL's 10, and then the CAF at 54. So keep an eye out on that this morning, and we'll see how that continues to shake out. Also, Carlos Cordero, Infantino's senior advisor, has quit over the World Cup plan. Quote, as a senior advisor to the FIFA president, a former banker, and a lifelong football fan, I cannot stand by while FIFA considers selling a stake in the World Cup. Let me be clear, I had no involvement in this proposal, and I oppose it unequivocally. It is a bad deal for FIFA's member associations, a bad deal for football, and a bad deal for the long-term future of the game. Football has been central to my life, and after more than 35 years in banking, I understand both the value of this asset and the consequences of giving part of it away. That's why this proposal should be rejected. FIFA already has access to extraordinary financial resources. The organization sits on billions of dollars in reserves and no debt. The FIFA president himself has highlighted the $15 billion in revenue generated between 22 and 26. If member associations believe additional investment is needed to develop the game, FIFA already has the financial capacity to provide that. So Carlos Cordero, has senior advisor, has quit over this World Cup plan. So you've got that in play. Asian Football Confederation came out and said they stand in solidarity with UEFA and CONCACAF in expressing serious concerns over FIFA's proposal to introduce private investment into FIFA's flagship competitions and the decision-making process around FFE. The fact that the situation has reached the point where a real possibility of a FIFA World Cup boycott has entered public discourse should concern everyone who cares about the future of our game. Football should never have been placed in such a position. Against this backdrop and in light of the clear positions expressed by UEFA and CONCACAF, as well as the unprecedented divisions that have emerged across the football world, the AFC believes the proposed FFE cannot realistically achieve the necessary broad consensus and unity required to move forward. The FIFA World Cup is the pinnacle of global football and derives its strength from the participation of all confederations and the world's leading football nations. Any proposal that risks undermining the unity and universal character of the competition must be reconsidered. So that's where we are with right now. Another federation has jumped in to say their piece. A senior advisor to Gianni Infantino has quit in protest. And you now have right now a number and a research brief out to determine whether or not there's a viability of going from 48 to 64. This research brief could have come out anytime between now and a year from now. But as it comes out right now, it seems like it's somebody who's pushing something to the front of the line. And I don't see why this research brief really would be given a no under any kind of a circumstance. If you think about it, and we've been talking about it ever since the idea of a field of 64 has popped up, it's heading in this direction. 48 was a success. Financially, because of the market that you were in when you had a host and the quality of play. I think that anyone who was somewhat concerned, yes, you did have a couple of dogs, the Curacao 7-1 match and then Tunisia, which was a shock. Tunisia's results and the Curacao 7-1 match with Germany. I think that's it. There might have been another one or two that aren't popped into my head recently. But with those two matchups that we're talking about, there were very few that were just absolute dogs that were not worthy of any kind of mention in any kind of a sportscast, VO, highlight, what have you. So, and Abby, it was another $20 million, but that's $20 million up front. And then the one thing to remember about private equity firms, the Big 12 conference is going to learn this pretty quick. Anytime you have any kind of private equity firm that wants to invest in something, they are looking at one thing and one thing only. They're looking at profit. They're not doing this for the goodness out of their heart. They're looking at profit. They are looking to invest. They will front you the money, but they're looking for profit on the backside pretty quick. And if they don't get it, then the entity that they have negotiated this investment with is going to get chopped up, damaged, however you want to phrase it. They will not be the 100% it will not be the 100% organization that it was going into it. If FIFA had just said, if you take everything to the side, if FIFA just says that we're looking to expand to 64 teams, none of us would have been surprised. None of us at all. Would not have been surprised one bit because of what happened with the field of 48. Field of 64, you're going to have 6 nations in 2030 hosting events. You probably need to go to 64 teams. Probably means that all of CONMEBOL gets in anyway. So the world is closing when it comes to the talent pool. 64 to me is the max. Like I said, I don't want to necessarily have anything in Dayton going on Tuesday, but I was reminded that the Intercontinental Playoff kind of was like Dayton and the in the round of 68, the Tuesday, Wednesday playoffs to get in to play the number 1 seeds. So if we had just said, all things aside, you're going from 48 to 64. Okay, cool. You got a new TV contract coming up with U.S. partners. You're going to charge them billions of dollars. It gives them more games, gives them more inventory, more opportunity to make money back, blah, blah, blah. No surprise off the board at all. None. Zero. Not happening. No surprise. But the fact that you have this now coming forward, as it was written yesterday in a research brief from FIFA, you're kind of decision by August the 14th. Clock is ticking. You got to come up with something. Okay. Honestly, I knew that the field of 64 was coming the second it was mentioned. When you have expiring television contracts, when you have TV partners that are more than willing to drop that kind of dime and then make that money back, FIFA will be okay. And as Carlos Cordero admitted, they have 8 figures to the left of the decimal in reserves. FIFA would have been fine. But we see where this goes now when you have a senior advisor to the president of FIFA who has resigned. You have another confederation come forward and sit there and say, nope. And then you add to this research brief that was issued yesterday to expand to 64. All things separate. The last one that we've been talking about, no surprise. But then when you add everything else that's been going on recently to all of this, you get the feeling that someone thinks the clock is ticking and they've got to boogie quick. Just saying. So that's kind of where we are. Why David wants to know, why did they give Fox such a deal on the broadcast rights for 22 and 26? That because it was 22 was in Qatar and they had to flip the schedule. It wasn't a summer championship. It was a winter championship. And so you had all of these different things that had to be flipped. And so FIFA did them a solid. FIFA did them a solid with naming it twice. That they gave them the 18 and that it was when they gave them when they no bid the whole thing, it was a make good, basically. Qatar being 22, it being in November, it not being in summer, having to uproot everything attached to their schedules and NFL and all this other kind of stuff. So they did them a solid. And they know they gave them a cut rate deal. That's like, yeah, we'll give you 22 pricing for 26. We know that you're kind of, you've been our buds for a while, so we're going to give you that deal at that rate. So that's why it was given that way. So it was, yeah, Fox, no doubt, they did come out the winner in that. And that's why they're now back in the pile with everybody else, because this go around with this one going to the field of 64, you're going to be charged billions of dollars. But yeah, Big FOX made a fortune off of the 26 World Cup. No question that they did, because they paid 22 pricing and they probably cleared at least $500 million in revenue. I think it was at least $200 million because of the advertising break or the hydration break and how you wanted to take advantage of it in game. You were able to sell more inventory because of the hydration break, and Fox took advantage of that. So Fox made out very, very well when it comes to the 26 World Cup, but that's it for their deal. Now they're back with everybody else at the drawing board table, and we'll see where it goes. But those three big events came in this morning. Senior advisor quits. Research brief issued by FIFA to go to 64. No real surprise, but the timing is what the timing is. And you got another confederation come forward. So you're about, I think you're 16 short. You're about, in a perfect world, say 2 dozen. You need 2 dozen to flip of the 75 that remain. So what, a third? And then Infantino and his idea gets a no. So that's where we are. It's got to be 150 out of 211. It can't just be 106. It's got to be 150. But that's kind of where we are with this. So that's opening kickoff. There's a lot to kind of kick around to let you know what else is going on. But that's just the start. That is the start of everything. So there it is. Now it is it's all squared. It's all in play, and we'll keep an eye on it as we go. Like I said, Dave Leno coming up here in about 7 minutes. But all of the stuff with FIFA, that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community. And it is showing up at events all over Atlanta, trying their home blend made with beans from Brazil, Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Do not believe that there is a plan to expand the Women's World Cup past its current number. I think Netflix also paid $200 million, I think, for it. Hang on just a second. Because I saw that number this morning. And where did I see that number? Was it actually? I know where it might have been. I think it actually was in the Morning Espresso, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. I think that's where that was. If you have not subscribed, go to soccerdownhere.net, and then you can subscribe to the morning newsletter. That is the Morning Espresso. All the news that is fit and placed in one place. Netflix is paying an estimated $200 million for U.S. and Canada broadcast rights to 27 in Brazil. According to people familiar with the deal, Streamer had already announced it also holds rights to 31. Financial terms for that deal have not been disclosed. So it is $200 million for 27, and then it is 31 has been paid for, but we don't know the rate yet. So both of those are heading to Netflix, and we'll keep an eye on all of that as well. Breaking news or developing story coming out of Columbus, and it looks like Max Arfston is heading to Middlesbrough. It's like everybody's heading to Middlesbrough. It's turning into Middlesbrough. Tom Bogert, Tommy Scoops on the Blue Butterfly. Middlesbrough finalizing a deal to sign Max Arfston from Crew. Fee up to $7.5 million, including add-ons. Crew get a significant sell-on fee. Arfston expected to travel to complete the move in the coming days or week. So That looks like another piece of business for Crew. We probably should catch up with our friend Chris Doran and find out what the latest is there. Yeah, Pedro Amador heading to Hapoel Beersheva, and that apparently is a 4-year deal, and we'll get into that as we will. But he had been passed on the depth chart. He was going to probably not be renewed as a contract after this year. He did have an option year, but simply after his start in 24 had downsloped in his production in 25, been passed over for Elias Baez in 26. So basically, you got resources for someone in a contract that you weren't going to renew, who was just he was surpassed by multiple folks. And Tata Martino had mentioned this week that when you were looking for replacements, you could have had 4 other dudes. Yeah, Beersheva, yes. I took a beat in between the 2 E's. So yeah, Pedro Amador to Hapoel Beersheva, and there you go. All right. I got to check on the status of his executive producer, and we'll find out how it is. So Dave, how is your executive producer that you were trying to navigate to make sure that you could be here with us?
Good morning. My executive producer and boss, Logan, my beautiful daughter, who's 2 years old, is at a day camp nearby that she does not go to, but my wife and son do. So I made some arrangements, went to training yesterday with the union, got Logan over to day camp for a little bit, and it gives me a little bit of a morning here for at least maybe an hour and a half. And I'm right back into the prep mode and with the 2-year-old, but happy to be with you.
As always, my friend, it's great to see you. We got you for 15.
You too.
We got you for 15 solid before Michael Parkhurst comes in to quarter till. I got to ask you about life on the Richter scale, and it's probably both figuratively and literally with Ryan Richter, the new head coach. How are things different now? Because for anybody to sit there and say, "Oh yeah, it's just Atlanta United and Philadelphia," you're different than it was earlier this year by a long stretch.
For sure. I'm not trembling as much as maybe I was the first half of the year. To your point there, it's taken me back to 8th grade science class with Mr. Fleeger nearby where I'm living right now. But first off, let me say I'm so happy for Ryan getting this interim tag. It's kind of like a little Sandlot moment for me. My first job with the Union in 2016, I was the voice of Bethlehem Steel, which is our second team now, Union 2, but at the time they played in USL before Next Pro. And Ryan was the captain. So I was out on sponsorship things and going to, kit launches and various other different events with him and Derek Jones. And, that was towards the tail end of his career, a supplemental draft pick for the Union. And by the way, has worked his way all the way up from pre-Union Academy all the way through to a first team assistant coach a couple years ago under Jim Curtin, Union 2 coach recently, the last 2 years, and now with this interim tag. And things are very, very different. The guys I feel like are playing with a little bit more freedom. I feel like, John, that the break came at a right time for the Union. And I think a lot of teams maybe could say that are towards the bottom of the table in both East and Western conferences. And I think it was a reset. There's definitely been some change. Sporting director John Shear got that job. A couple guys are out, like Owetu Makanyo had a great year last year next to Glesnes. An up and down season this year is really a center back one. He just transferred to Rangers. He didn't come back after the World Cup with South Africa. And, we start now with 6 consecutive home games, including Leagues Cup. So we beat a good Red Bull team 3-1. We get our 3rd clean sheet against Seattle last week, and we play a struggling Atlanta side. So we have momentum, but I think the focus for Ryan and company, and I hate to use a cliche, but it really is one game at a time for this group.
That's $1 in the jar, by the way. When you do, we'll take a look at the jar at the end of the year. You've been reading my notes. I did want to talk about the back line because Makanya didn't want to come back, and so he was transferred out. And then you bring in somebody that you're familiar with. It's not necessarily an even swap, but what's it like to have somebody back from Birmingham, not Birmingham, as we say here in the Southeast, but Birmingham. He comes back to a place, get back to where you once belonged, Loretta. I mean, what's that like?
The tenor of the club has totally changed. And what's important with bringing back a Kai Wagner is a lot of the guys know him. and the new guys are already getting the feel and the vibe, just being down there a little bit and talking to Kai off the side myself several times already since he's been back. It's like he's picking up right where he left. This is a guy, multi-time All-Star, multi-time Best 11 player. This is his home, and I think speaking with him, a lot was reported in the press and conjecture, I think, by fans that it was solely, family and his wife, but also it was a football or soccer decision as well. And Kai had a great time here, and he's very into the Philly sports scene, the pride, also, of course, his young kids being in the Philly and also the South Jersey area. And on the field, I could speak to tactically what the Union sorely missed for those watching or listening that did not see any of us. We had a lack of service from the channels in half number one. We never really replaced a left back in a Kai Wagner quality. And I'm not trying to put down a Philip Ndinga or Nate Harriel who filled in at left back all the way from training, from preseason training and training camp out in Spain all the way to this point. But there was a slew of other players. We even played Finn Sundstrom, a 19-year-old who played in USL with North Carolina at that spot. So sorely missed the crosses, and then we weren't as lethal, John, on set pieces. And Eloski had to fill that void, and some others. But Kai just has a whole dynamic, and also, having a guy with the leadership. I think the Union went from, as you well know, really since the COVID 2020 season, where we've been objectively one of the best teams at home and also just record. I would say that we missed the veteran presence when you lose the four guys like a Wagner, a Glesnes, an Ua back to Denmark, and a Ty Bribo to DC. You're asking young kids to step up and thrust in a role that they're not maybe comfortable or accustomed to doing. And I think, and I don't fault Bradley Carnell or any of the staff or the other players saying, hey, to a Nate Harriel or somebody else, yeah, you are going to have to start calling out guys in training. You will have to step up maybe in that regard, maybe including maybe an Andre Blake too. That's very boisterous with his back line, but might not be this guy that's expected to call out people. The same with Ali Bedoya, who's taken on a different role. So you had the voice and presence alone of Kai in the locker room and also on the field like that. There's a different expectation, and I see it at training, John, behind the scenes about the intensity. And that's what Ryan, I heard that word a lot yesterday at training down in Chester. Keep up the intensity. And then, tactically, what I'm saying, just a little bit different versus like I can go into particulars about, ball rotation and man for man marking versus zonal marking. But the back line, John, to your question, I'll finish with this, was a problem. The Union were very anemic. We're still not fine-tuned with our finishing up top with the strikers. That's one point. The second point is, as bad as we were finishing, we were probably even more so lackluster defensively in front of Andre Blake, which really led to a disappointing first half of the year. And hopefully with Kai back and Nate Harriel playing center back and the emergence of Anil Pierre, Frankie Westfield's been a delight at right back. It's going to be a totally different second half for the team.
Voice of the Union, Dave Leno, joining us for Oppo Research here on a Freestyle Friday. Okay, since you mentioned it, I'll skip a line and I'll go to the offense from the back line. Milan Eloski, who at times has proven himself to be a very bad man, and I mean that in the most optimistic sense possible. I mean, the guy can light it up. It seems like if you get him lighted, then that fuse can really carry you for quite some time. Eloski, Damiani, Indiana Vasilev, who freaks out every time he's on the show and he sees the Tormenta scarf over my right shoulder. The offense that is there, the engine kind of seems to be turning over a little better than it has in the past. Am I wrong?
It's fair to say. I think I would like to see, and this is just my play-by-play opinion, I would like to see us a little bit more dynamic in the transition game, and I think that's where we were really good last year in the Supporter Shield years. Like, how quick can we go? Make a turnover, quickly go into space. And I remember a goal that we scored last year at Montreal that Vasilev right on cue scored in like the second minute. And we were down the length of the field in about 7-8 seconds. And that was like a Bradley Carnell or the Union DNA type of goal where we maybe don't like to have a lot of the ball. We dispossess the opposition and we go quick. I would like to see a little bit more verticality moving forward. the tear that Ilowski's going on. This is a guy that switched his kit from 32 and assumed the number 10 jersey. He missed a penalty, which I know early hindsight's easy to say, but he missed a penalty down at Mercedes-Benz. You remember the game back in mid-March down there in which we lost 3-1. If that goes in early on in the game, Damiani had a chance with a volley. Might have been a different outcome. Again, very early in the season, and now we're at a different point for both of our clubs. But Ilowski scored 7 goals in the last 5. And what's different about him, what Ryan Richter, the interim manager, is doing. So Bradley can deploy him either as a second 10 in a 4-2-2, or as a second 9 as a second striker. And I think Ryan prefers, and he said this publicly, as a second striker to a Bruno Damiani, or you can bring in Ezekiel Alado. And the thing that makes Ilowski special is his quick release, and he can really make something out of nothing. Yes, if like you see in one of the goals that happened from Westfield where he curls the ball up ahead, it bounces once, one-time hit, beautiful finish from Ilowski. He can do that. He can run into space off a back shoulder of a center back. But then quickly, like he did in against Red Bull New York, a ball floats into the box, spins at a 360 off a defender, shoots and scores behind Marshall Ruddy. He can do that too, and that's the key for him. Finishing shots from a rapid rate, and I feel like center backs have to pay attention because he can run into space off of a center back. He can lurk out like to the tip of the 18, the penalty area, and take a shot from 20, 25 yards away. Or he can do some combination play, which is a tactic in the buildup of the Union where we were losing a lot of the second and third balls the first half of the year. I think fans would tell you, the media would say that we weren't stringing 3, 4, 5 passes together. That has changed in the last couple of games on this win streak. And again, it's only a small sample size, but I think a lot has to do with Ilowski deployed up there. But I will tell you this, guys like Bruno Damiani only has 1 goal this year. He had 7 last year. He would tell you needs to finish in front of goal. Ezekiel Alado, club record transfer fee. The kid's only 20. For me, in over a decade in MLS now, I know there's still some acclimation period to a guy from Ghana, played in Sweden, coming to the United States for the first time, not knowing really anybody. There's still going to be time to be worked out, but Alado is this big presence where he can run into space like a Mikel Ua, but we're not seeing a lot of those direct balls over the top from the Union into space lately. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of that against Atlanta. We'll have to see on Saturday night, but he does provide that hold up play like a Bruno. So while the strikers, lastly, aren't scoring and finishing at a rapid rate that we all would love to see, and they would too, it's the work against the ball that the requirement in our system, the defensive work from your 9s and from your 10s, that guys that you mentioned, like Adolowski, like Indiana Vasilis running all over the place, scores an open play against Red Bull. The emergence of Kevin Sullivan recently, starting a lot more for the Union right now. Quinn Sullivan back, Kai Wagner. It's a totally different team, and I know people are like saying, "Hey, Dave, you just brought Kai back, and Quinn's coming off the ACL." But I can tell you the vibes are different on a 2-game win streak. It's our longest win streak of the year, and hopefully that will continue against a struggling Atlanta team.
I was going to ask, what kind of a matchup are you anticipating in this one? Another one of those Atlanta Philly, knockdown, drag out, broad street fight kind of things. What kind of the match are you expecting?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a battle of, an Atlanta team that comes in. I think, they want to go after the game and maybe replicate what Seattle did, was make it very ugly for the Union in the first 45 minutes. And there were very little frugal opportunities in front of goal. And I expect, Tata Martina's group to take a page out of Brian Schmetzer in the matchup. And what I mean by that is, a mix of a high line of confrontation, what I've seen on tape from Atlanta. The question that I have for the Union, and again, quickly, if they get a turnover on a Miran Chuck Almiron, how quickly can they play a ball into space to a Lukic or Danley, then forward to, a spurting Kevin Sullivan to lead on an Ilowski or a Damiani, whoever starts in the game. So that for me is key, because another factor that I've seen, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen a ton of service from the width of teams recently, like a New England, like a Charlotte against Atlanta, where I feel like Atlanta is conceding space on the channels. And that's when you bring a guy like Kai Wagner, where he didn't put in a ton of crosses against Seattle, because I think that was part of their game plan to deny Kai getting forward up on the left. And I think a very good scout at that. And I expect Atlanta to do the same. Atlanta's right against our left-hand side. But I expect Kai and Frankie Westfield to get forward And I think that is, I think something that just in my opinion, that Richter and staff can use at their disposal, because a lot of times what I see is a lot of ball watching from Atlanta recently, on this winless in seven skid, is that like guys that are just easily running in the box, like a couple through balls and scoring. So I hope from the Atlanta perspective that they clean that up a little bit. Of course, with my Union cap and polo on, I look for our team to go on a 3-game win streak into League's Cup. I think that will help us. But these runs in behind, I think from the Union, I think that's key. My question for Atlanta is, how organized is that back line going to be against us? I have no qualms about the Miranchuk scoring 5 goals, Almiron finally getting on the board in back-to-back games. I know the new acquisitions that they brought in as well. Hopefully, it can be a great toe-for-toe, matchup where we're having a plethora of shots, maybe more of the shots on target for the Union in the matchup. But I expect a great game because, like you said, these Union Atlanta games, no matter where they are in the table, they're always thrilling and a joy for me to broadcast.
The back line for Atlanta, I would anticipate being some combination of left to right, Baez, Alonso, Mihai, and Tomas Jakob.
Yeah.
And so from that, I have no qualm. Cooper Sanchez is away with the U20s. So that probably means it's Tristan and maybe Will Riley getting the start. I would anticipate in a 4-2-3-1 that you're probably looking at, I would say striker would be an interesting question. Is it Fafa Pico up top?
Yep.
Then you're looking at what's it going to be on the left. Then you would have, Miguel and Alexi as a part of that. So I've got one question in the midfield with Fafa up top. What I would posit for Atlanta in the attack, since you mentioned your left with Wagner and Vasilev, I would posit in return the right-hand side with Alexi and whatever that rush is. And if you see Jakob coming forward, which he's not afraid to, that possibility of getting behind that back line, I'm looking at, say, Wagner and Miranchuk as being one of those good 1v1 matchups to keep an eye on Saturday night.
Yeah, I love that. And then the question that I have for us, and I think a lot of your U.S. soccer fans might keep a track on this guy, 18-year-old, 6'7", Neil Pierre. He was very good in Denmark playing with one of the clubs we have a partnership for, Lyngby. How does he do coming off a secondary assist to Westfield, then leading on the goal for Iloski? So I look for Pierre, who's we know how lethal he can be on set pieces, but also, despite his lanky frame, he's a very adept passer, comes in with a lot more confidence, learned how to, even more so at 18 years old, be more of a professional going overseas, playing in an environment you're not accustomed to, right? Even though he started with his U.S. youth team. So that partnership between him and now Nate Harriel, who's played all 4 spots on the back line, how do they derail and limit, especially in rest defense, like an Almiron, like a Miranchuk, like you're saying, or whoever else starts on top? I know Fafa, right, hasn't scored in maybe the last couple of months, but when I first came to the Union, Pico was on the team. He was a delight to cover. I used to call him the Gazelle affectionately. Love to see him run into space, could finish well. So it'd be good to see Fafa back. And I know Sergio Santos, I believe, is still on the roster as well. I think hasn't played in considerable time.
Yeah.
Things can change. Look, MLS, 9 teams in each conference make the playoffs. Both of us are maybe not in prime positioning right now. The Union have a little bit more momentum into the game. They're at home. The crowd certainly sensing that, Quinn's back, Kai's back. I think it's going to be a nice environment down in Chester on Saturday night. But like you said, I think there's an Atlanta team that's hungry for points, and I know they're going to go after the game. I do not expect them, and I would be shocked if Tata says, "Hey, we're going to sit back, let the Union have the ball and break us down." I don't think that would be a good sign for Atlanta, even though the Union don't like to really play with a ton of possession. So looking forward to a great game. Always a pleasure to cover these 2 teams, and I'm excited to keep the momentum going, and then we'll see as it relates to the League's Cup for the Union, where we're home for another 3 games, what that does to our growth and momentum in the second half of the season.
Hit the promo for me before you go, sir.
Yeah, so the Union against Atlanta. I have our Union radio call in the Philly market. Anybody can hear it from anywhere on the 97.5 The Fanatic app at 7:30. Also, the home radio feed on Apple TV, choosing home radio. I'll be on the call with Union legend Sebastian Latou. But I always like to plug Mike and Jason, who do a terrific job with Atlanta's radio call. It'll be a delight to see them in Chester. They do a great job, as is your program as well. And keep up the amazing work. You and I always bounce from different sports, which we certainly love that versatility, and hoping for another great weekend of MLS.
Absolutely, my friend. Great to see you. Have a fantastic call. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Great to see you.
All right. Thanks, John, for the time. Take care.
There goes Dave Leno, play-by-play voice of the Union. So we go hot tag, and we bring in our buddy Parky. And how you holding up, sir?
Morning, John. Doing great. Doing great. So who's winning this weekend?
The Bears.
The Bears are certainly winning.
Yeah. I would not be doing my due diligence if I did not start by asking a question about that banner over your left shoulder. With what was brought forth by Pablo Torre and WPRI-TV over the last couple of days involving the Kawhi Leonard situation, I will leave the floor to you, and you can address it however you wish. When the news came out that it did, what was your response, and I guess how much did you know of this?
None. And I guess financing and all the money stuff is not my forte, because I read a little bit about it. I didn't pay too much attention to the program, because while our name was mentioned and involved because of Kawhi, I think it's more on him as a person than it is on us as a business. So I kind of think it's much ado about nothing, but again, there are other people more involved with that side of stuff, so I kind of leave it to them. But I don't think we are implicated in anything or did anything wrong. So
Okay.
I didn't lose any sleep.
Okay. I if I needed to do my due diligence,
Of course,
put that to the table for you, and thank you for your candor. It is that time where we are now second half of the season, Major League Soccer, and getting into the money part of the schedule. But with you and with what you're doing at Beyond Goals, I thought it was really interesting. I noticed that there was a video that was posted by you the other day, a couple days ago, and you were reminding folks who are of a high school age, like the rising senior, about, if you're not getting looks and you're not, don't freak out, basically, if you're not getting looks or you're not getting the looks you think you should be getting at this point because you're heading into your senior season in high school. When you have these conversations with your mentees, what's the level of freaking out? Is everyone confident in their place? Is everyone are folks trying to figure out their path? Where are the levels of the rising seniors trying to get to that next level? Where are they in being assured of their futures and what those steps need to be?
Yeah, we've got some that are already committed that are going to be juniors, and we've got some that have got a ton of interest that are going to be seniors, and then we've got some that have gone to some ID camps, have played here and there, and there's some minor interest, but nothing on the table. And I think for them and their parents, it's stressful. And so, it was just a little reminder of, hey, the path might not be exactly what you envisioned or envision currently, but there's a lot of pathways out there right now. So it was just a little reminder. And just because Rhode Island FC had brought on the player and I looked at his background and saw that he went to a JUCO, I was like, hey, this is great.
Well, and at the same time, you don't want a mentee to, and my mom's going to kill me for this because it's a double negative, to not be yourself. You don't want to not be yourself. That's where I was going with this. You don't want to try to. It's like, okay, you're this person on tape, and you've been this kind of individual as you're getting to the point to where you're a junior or a rising senior. and you think that you're not getting the looks you should get. So then the first thought by that high schooler might be, okay, I've got to change who I am. And that would be more detrimental because these schools, they don't see me they're looking for something else. I should try and be that person instead of who I am. And that might set you back even further in your quest to try to get to the next level.
Totally. Yeah, you have to stick to what you're good at and not change who you are as a player and find the right program for you. Because you may be a very good player that doesn't fit in every single program, right? I didn't play for every coach who loved me. So it doesn't mean I was a bad player, but yeah, to each their own, right? So, and another pathway that I haven't really touched on that much is the gap year program, which are getting bigger, especially now with this 5 and 5, where you can take a gap year and still have 4 years of eligibility. So there's more programs out there that are providing like this gap year. I don't know what to say. Gap year
opportunity.
Yeah, opportunity is a good word.
Well, and also because of recruiting and trickle down and NIL and all these kinds of things, you've got a lot of these Division I athletes that think they're D1 athletes, and in a normal world, all things being equal, they are. But because of NIL and where things go in recruiting, then you get that trickle down of, okay, so these Division I schools, they're locked in, and they've gotten their folks and they've gotten all their transfers from all this place, and that creates opportunities in the mid-majors. And then the mid-majors get theirs, and then that creates opportunities in 1AA. I dated myself. Sorry, FCS, and then Division II, Division III, NAIA, JUCO, or overseas or whatever. So you've got to be nimble, I think, as both parents and student athletes these days too.
Yeah, and it's tough to be nimble, right? There's a lot of people out there that, hey, I want a plan. This is what we're doing. This is what we wanted to do, and here we are. And go to a university and spend 4 to 5 years there and play on the team and graduate and do all those things. But it doesn't look like that for the majority of athletes. And so wrapping their head around other alternatives and options is first is the education piece and second is the buy-in. So getting there with some.
How hard is it because you mentioned education and buy-in, and I would imagine that education is the easy part in a lot of aspects, but they've got to want to listen. That's the other part in this. It's like you can tell them all the information, and you could be 100% correct in your observations, but they've got to want to listen, and they've got to want to understand what's going on and not be, stubborn about, what they want to do, and they just end up banging their head against the wall because of it.
Totally. And to further complicate it, it's two parties, right? You have to get it from the parents, but also the athlete. Right? The parents can understand it, see it, be all in on it, but the athlete is like, no, I don't want to take a gap year. No, I don't want to go to a D3. And then they cross off that until it's too late. And, so yeah, it's a challenge sometimes, but hey, all we can go out there is provide some opportunities, show them what's out there, help them to our best of ability. And, everybody finds their way eventually.
And you definitely hope that's the case, because you don't want someone who is talented mistake an opportunity and leave it to the side and then be caught having to come back into a process and then become soured on the whole thing because of what they thought they were able to do, couldn't do, and then, I've got to go back in. And you don't want to lose that kind of individual to all of the machinations that are currently going on.
Totally. And the other big point I tell them is it doesn't matter what level you play at. The experience of being on a team in college and making friends and being part of that group is unlike anything else you'll experience in life. And so it's such an awesome opportunity, no matter what level you're at, to be part of that team and have that experience.
Okay. Let me steer it. Let me smash into the guardrail here and go to my next topic. All right, so obviously right now, this weekend, we just had Dave Leno on before you came on. Dave's the radio voice for Philadelphia. Atlanta and Philly, they're playing this weekend. Both teams bottom of the table in the Eastern Conference. And Jason did a really cool piece this week about where Atlanta United is trying to piece things together here and, work on the fly to try to improve and go up the standings and everything. And the idea of bringing folks together, you've got the young guys who have been through the academy. They're working their way up. Fafa Pico, who apparently is now called Unk. You know, he's like the older uncle that's a part of this, and he's kind of like the overseer of like golf and all these other activities to try to get to know each other. How difficult is it when you have all these new guys coming in to try and integrate, to try to understand where everybody's coming from quickly, so you can get the personality part out of the way and then work on those personalities on the field? This seems like you're juggling a bunch of different chainsaws here in a difficult situation.
For sure. You know, it's a bit of a mess from the outside looking in, and it is challenging. But there is a really good benefit to bringing in new blood in that they're not used to what's going on right now, right? There's players that have been there all season and maybe even last season as well. And I'm not saying they're used to losing, but they're not surprised, or, you know, they still go into each game wanting to win. But as soon as things go poorly, in the back of their head, they're like, oh, here we go again. Versus the new guys have no understanding of what the last years have been like and what the last months have been like. So sometimes that fresh attitude is welcomed inside a locker room. It can help turn things around. So, you know, even the technical side on the field apart, just the mentality of some new blood sometimes is good. But I will give them credit that staying together as a team is the toughest thing to do when things aren't going well. It sounds like they're doing it, you know, relatively well, and it's never going to be perfect. Right? If Joseph was on that team, everyone probably would hate him because of the competitor that he is. So that was always a tough challenge for us when we were going through some tough stretches, and it's difficult. Gosh, it's difficult. I feel for the guys that are on the team.
Well, and when you're going through something difficult, and you got different personalities, and I know that some folks are probably gung-ho 100% in this stereotypic locker room that we're talking about. And how do you keep someone who might be a rah-rah guy from getting to you? Because you're there, you want to do your job, you want to do it great, but that's not your personality. How do you keep the guys that are like 180 degrees from you from getting to you and turning it into a negative, to just understanding who they are and how they're driven?
Yeah, so tough. And when we were in moments like this, it's really tough to know where's that balance between still supporting guys and still having a good attitude versus like MF and everybody saying this isn't good enough, and like F you and F this, trying like, hey, I'm not going to be happy that we're losing, right? I'm not going to be happy that we are at the bottom of the table, and I'm going to go into training, right? And I'm not going to be all giddy like I am if we were at the top of the table. And that's just more of a mentality thing of, hey, I'm pissed off about where we are and what's going on, versus do I still put the smile on? Do I still have a great attitude? You know, do I seem like this is okay? Or, you know, what gets us out of this quicker, right? It's really difficult to know, right? Because I think guys are afraid probably to smile sometimes at training when things are going like this. But also I understand that, right? Should you be happy where things are right now? It's really, really difficult internal battle, I think, figuring out just the emotional response when the team is like in a situation that you're in right now.
And the mogul in training that you are, as we continue to smash guardrails this morning, you re-signed Koke Vegas and a couple others to extensions. Is that right?
Yes, we did. Yeah, Koke, Hugo, one other, Amos, guys that are really important to our roster, the core group. Koke's been phenomenal for us, such a great human being and captain. Amos and Hugo have been really, really big parts of our team. So, you know, we don't want these guys hitting free agency. So we want to take care of them. And so, yeah, happy to do that. And we just loaned out a player to FC Dallas, which we're proud of, and hope he crushes it. You know, it hurts us, obviously. He's a tough guy to replace, but that's what we're here for. We want guys to develop and move on. So really happy about that.
North of the playoff bar in the Eastern Conference is what we like to see. As always, my friend, great to see you, and we will catch up with you soon. Thanks for dropping by for the lightning round here on a Friday.
You got it, John. Have a good weekend.
You too. There goes Michael Parkhurst, and Parky's going to be doing his thing. And so now we go hot tag. starting hour number 2, where we lead off with a hydration break, actually, as we bring in Steve Cangialosi. The Kangi Man, we have a hydration break brought to us by our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. 2 locations, Johns Creek and Cumberland, and we thank them for being partners and friends with us here at SDH. So how are you, my friend? You are not in the Cangialosi studios. You're in a place different.
No, we have pretty sketchy internet service in my office, and I've dealt with that for 9 years.
Wow.
We're in the middle of a move here, John. Have you ever sold a place and tried to buy a place at the same time?
The boss has. I have not.
It can be a lot. So many things don't function right now. Okay, so I'm here. I hope you have me clearly and cleanly, and we're all good. It's always good to be with you, my friend. How are you doing?
Running around just as fast as you, trying to keep up with you. How is study hall getting ready for this weekend for you, sir?
So I am basically the voice of FC Cincinnati for about a 3-week stretch here. The fans there are going to be sick of me in Ohio in short order. I hope I'm kidding. I have about 4 of their games in a span of about 3 weeks. This is an intriguing one. This is a good one tomorrow night. Cincinnati, San Jose. It's the teacher versus the student in a way. Bruce Arena, some 30 years, the senior of Pat Noonan, who hired Pat as an assistant for club and country, let's not forget. And 2 teams coming into this and both needing it for different reasons, I think. FC Cincinnati right now is the more fascinating study. You and I have watched this league and this game for a long time. I don't think I recall covering a team that is flirting with setting records for goals scored and goals allowed at the same time. But that's what Cincinnati is at this moment.
And the end of Hell is Real was certainly both real and hell, depending on who you were talking about. And Dado Valenzuela and Mo Farsi, they went completely haywire, and it goes up the ramp, and the video came out from Columbus TV. Dado, I think, got another game added to it. And so FCC's coming into this a little interesting, shall we say, with this matchup with San Jose.
And let's not mince words. Valenzuela did something stupid. Mm-hmm. And I think I spoke with Pat Noonan yesterday, and he said, basically, I left him alone for a couple of days. I just wanted to see how he would sort it out on his own. He feels pretty bad about it. Justifiably, he did get the extra game suspension, by the way. And it comes at a time when he's playing pretty well, John. All of the accolades for Cincinnati with this fantastic goal output that they've produced to this point have gone to Evander and Kevin Denke, as they should. I mean, goal scorers are the one who should get the headlines, but sort of an underlying factor in both of them hitting double-digit goals as quickly as they have is the improved play of Dado, who's become a very important part of the engine that makes that midfield hum. He's a young guy. He's established himself on a very exciting team as a chance-creating number 8, and he's taken a very nice step forward at this point in his career. And I think as the week has gone on, what's been communicated to him is, look, you've stated what your goals are. You want to play in Europe someday. You think you have that in you. Maybe we think you have that in you. Teams are looking at you. This is not a good look because they see at the end of the Columbus game a player who could not control his emotions when that is part of the element of being a pro. So he's going to sit. He's going to miss this game. He's going to miss the game on August 15th. I'll clarify that he can and probably will play in the League's Cup. They've got a game against Pachuca on Tuesday night. So he'll stay in the mix somewhat. But in the big picture here, this has to be a learning lesson for a good young player who's going to have a nice career ahead of him.
Yeah, we've seen him develop ever since his time MLS Next Pro with FC Cincinnati 2 at the beautiful Northern Kentucky University campus. So we've seen him evolve to where he is now. but you have this FC Cincinnati offense going up against San Jose's defense, which is borderline insane and toward the top of the table in fewest goals allowed in all of Major League Soccer. I think it's only 20 so far this season that San Jose has allowed. So it's an interesting contrast here about, okay, how's Cincinnati going to break down that defense that we've seen from San Jose?
It'll be an interesting tactical battle here. What I do think we'll see is a little bit of a shift here. With Dotto out, can they just comfortably slide Pavel Buka back to central midfield here? He's going to be a factor offensively regardless of where he plays. He's had a nice run of 8 straight games at right wing back, and he's played well there. Do they give up something defensively on that side of the field? They probably do. But think about what San Jose is doing, and in particular, the defensive structure that they're employing here. At this time in the league's history, where in the past few weeks we see players like Lewandowski and Casemiro come into the league, here's Bruce Arena, age 74, saying, screw all that. I'm going to have 8 former college players line up last week in the Cali Classico, and they came within a missed penalty of winning it. So you talk about the construction of that back four. Reed Roberts is a hell of a player, right? Team of the match day, but it goes beyond that. And I think there are a lot of people out there who say the right things. I believe in the American player. Well, Bruce Arena, based on his roster decisions as a sporting director, his lineup decisions as a head coach, his actions probably speak louder than words. It's a tough game for Cincinnati because A, San Jose is a very good road team. They're 6-1-1 away from Northern California. And B, they get Preston Judd back this week. And what you don't want is a gifted goal scorer who was just snubbed by the people who comprise the all-star roster. And I would expect this team and that player in particular to kind of come out with guns blazing this week.
Well, and I'm somewhat, the people's eyebrow on San Jose at times because it's like, do we consider the game with Orlando City as an outlier and just a clunker, and you put it in file 13 and screw the tape and don't even look at it and focus more on what happened in Cali Classico? Or do you sit there and take that game with Orlando City, kind of put it off to the side as a reference material, maybe as an appendix B or C for your evidence going into this particular game? Where do you hold Orlando City in that 4-0 clunker?
I close the door on that game and I never think about it again. The frame of reference I'll use is this. The best regular season team I was ever around was 2018 New York Red Bull, okay? 2018, it was the last of their supporters shield. And very late in that season, they just got blasted on a Friday night at home. It was Orlando, I believe, ironically, that came in and did it. It was 5-1. They parked it. It was fine. Everybody moved on. They went on to meet their demise in the Eastern Conference Final at the hands of Atlanta. My point being, I think everybody's going to have those chapters of a 34-game season where you're going to have to just sit there and say, what the heck was that? And I think there was a lot of that. There was a lot going on in that particular game, too. It was Griezmann's introduction, right, to MLS. And I would just say leave it alone. This is a team, by the way, that's going to get stronger as we get a little bit into the deeper days of summer. Sekiris, from what I understand, is probably about 3 weeks away. That's going to be a big addition. And to me, that's one of the badges of honor of Preston Judd's season, because you could make a case he's been as valuable to this team as any player in the league, because what happened with him when Timo Werner went down and when Sekiris went down long term, his play didn't drop, his play elevated, and he probably played his best soccer in that stretch. So I think we're probably still a few weeks away from all pistons firing for this team. What stinks for San Jose is that we just came off this World Cup break, right? And these teams that are not part of the League's Cup, like the Quakes, now have to go into hibernation for another 2 weeks. So there's a little bit too much stop and start this year, John. But ultimately, I think talent wins out. I'd be surprised if by the end of the summer they didn't find a real gear again. Points wise, they're still tied for first in the Western Conference with the Whitecaps and LAFC.
And for me, where Cincinnati is concerned, they are the box of chocolates at times. It's like, they're going to come out here, they're going to score 6 or 7 theoretically. They're going to be gangbusters on offense, and they'll just boat race you, and you're going to sit there and go, all right, that was a Horizon job. Or they're going to put up a clunker themselves. And that's why, with me, FC Cincinnati, like I said, I don't know what version I'm going to get with them. And this is on a match-by-match basis right now with them.
I don't think there's an easy fix here either, John. And this is interesting here. You see, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. I think we're entering that time in MLS where the smartest sporting directors are going to say, we have to do what it takes to win. And if that means getting the less sexy players with our designated player alignments, we're going to do that. My point being, I think we're going to see a wave of more teams filling DP slots in this league with center backs, okay? Now, FC Cincinnati's 3 designated players right now are Evander, Kevin Denke, and Miles Robinson, who, truth be told, his play has left a lot to be desired, all right? It was enough there for Pochettino to put him on a World Cup roster and to start him against Turkey. But there was never that feeling where he was going to be the first reliable option off the bench for the United States either. And with FC Cincinnati this year, is he part of the problem? No, but is he part of the solution? I'm not sure about that. Yeah. So my point being, he's had his contract redone where his 2026 marked the first year of the designated player status. And you can't add at that position again. Even if you try to get even let's say there's a 4th designated player spot that comes into the roster rules in short order. You're going to have 2 center backs occupying 2 of those. There's a lot here for Chris Albright and Pat Noonan to talk about. This is the group that I think they're going to sink or swim with, okay? But when we're sitting here with half a season done, and we're actually wrestling with the idea of Samuel Guidi, a natural midfielder, maybe being the most reliable defensive center back that they have, well, that raises a whole bag of issues, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. I would posit that probably the best coach or that got the most out of Miles was Frank de Boer.
Well, yeah.
And that's how far back in the timeline we're going here with Miles.
Yeah. Miles was not a key contributor to that Atlanta 2018 championship team. He didn't play a lot. Obviously, as the years went on, he settled into something a little more special. Look, I think Pat Noonan's a good coach. All right, let's just take a step back here, okay? Yeah. I think that him coming into the equation and winning all of those 1-goal games the last 4 years, that's not a fluke. That's a guy who knows how to manage the game, okay? And to see them slip away from that, it's a little bit eye-popping this year. Whatever's there in Miles Robinson, I think Pat will get out. But I'm questioning now, as he approaches the wrong side of 30, have we already seen the best of what this guy has to offer? I think it's a fair question at this point.
All right, so how much time do you have left on the house before you close where you are right now in Cangialosi Estates?
Let's put it this way. Do you need any furniture?
You look at this office, man. I'm stacked.
Yeah. So my wife and I are moving back to Fun City. We're moving back to New York City, literally in Manhattan. We've lived here in the suburbs for a nice stretch of about 10 years. We're going to say goodbye to the green grass, and we're going to go to the concrete jungle. We've had this in mind for some time, and kind of looking forward to it. We kind of like the chaos of the inner city. It's kind of how we're wired. So we're supposed to be out of here in 3 weeks. Who knows?
Wow. And so is Cangialosi 2, is that ready to move in, or is this still part of this crossover that we're talking here?
So when I said chaos, I wasn't kidding. So I think we're going to be moving into the lovely Residence Inn for at least a couple of days, if not a couple of weeks. And don't ever do this, by the way.
No,
Just stay where you are. Really.
Yeah. Dominus Omnis, my friend. As always, it's great to see you. It's fantastic to see you. May the transition from Cangialosi A to Cangialosi B be as flawless as possible. Keep us posted on this, and we definitely need to see the new Cangialosi estates when you move in. We need to have the ribbon cutting and everything on the air.
Fewer windows, but we're going to do what we can to make it aesthetically pleasing. Yes.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
have a safe call, my friend. We'll see you soon.
See you soon, pal. Bye.
There he goes, Steve Cangialosi. And so now we bring in we have a debut. We have a debut here on the morning show. And there's only really one way, I believe, that we can welcome this individual here to the morning show. And it is through his own words.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
You know, that's literally the only way that we can do it. So we bring in Jalil Anibaba to the morning show.
Hey, what's going on? How are we doing? What an intro. Anytime you got reactions from me, I would like to think they're lit. So we're up this morning. We're up.
It's all good. First off, welcome to the morning show. This is part of the chaos that we have every single Monday through Friday. We are Turner Time kids. Yep. So we start at 9:05 and we go for however long. Trust me, we do go into added time because of my golden retriever brain. This is what we do on Fridays. We always catch up with our friends from Apple and MLS Soccer to find out what's going on. But I wanted to dial it back to start to Monday.
Okay.
As we build our way forward to this weekend, you and AJ Ricketts got to call the MLS Next extravaganza, which was all Eastern Conference all the time. And now that you've had a couple of days to think about it, what were some of your takeaways from Blowout City, where the Eastern Conference took care of the Western Conference? I believe it was 6-1 the final there.
Yeah, it was awesome. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a blessed Friday morning, and this is a great way to start it. As far as Monday was concerned, moonwalking back to the top of the week, the MLS Next All-Star game was awesome. What a platform for the young individuals. And like you said, the East showed out. Oscar Aviles was completely amazing. He was the MVP. Ended up Liam Stribling did his thing. Benji Flowers on the West side was obviously a player that a lot of people were keen to see what he would do on the All-Star platform, just recently signing with Dallas with a pre-deal to Chelsea. And then Jamil Denjaji, the captain for the East, did his thing too. So it was fun for a lot of reasons, and the young players balled out.
All right. So since you mentioned Benji, let me bookmark him for a second. So when he signed and we heard about the pre-deal, I was like, don't go to Chelsea. Don't do it. Because, look, you're going to get that photo of Benji at some point where he's going to go over and it's going to be at Stamford Bridge or someplace that's supposed to look like it. And it's either going to be him holding up the jersey or he's going to be wearing the gear and he's going to have the pen hovering over the contract and smiling because he's not going to be signing while he's taking the picture.
Sure.
He is going to Strasbourg faster than you and I can sit there and say Strasbourg. He ain't staying at Chelsea. He's going out the door to someplace else, and he's going to get lost in the sauce. That's my fear with Benji Flowers. I'm like, don't sign with Chelsea. If anybody has this opportunity, don't do it. But I understand why SCD is like, hey, man, up to $10 million, we'll take it. $3 million, no worries there. I understand the why, but it seems counterproductive to his growth.
Well, let's flip the perspective, though, John. If you were a kid his age and sat down with that opportunity in front of you, very, very difficult to say that you wouldn't take it. And you wouldn't bet on yourself to say, okay, of the young Americans that have recently gone to Chelsea and similar deals, because we haven't seen anything like this as far as FC Dallas is concerned, MLS is concerned, but on similar deals. Are you not going to take it? You're absolutely going to take it. You're going to bet on yourself and say, look, if all things continue to go in the same trajectory for me and my family, I'm going to be a player for Chelsea. So I don't fault him in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I feel it continues to elevate the growth of the league and continues to show that FC Dallas is one of, if not the best organizations in the MLS circuit as far as producing young talent, getting them into Europe very quickly, and letting them either try or come back to Dallas by fire.
And the example that sticks here in our footprint here in the Southeast is Caleb Wiley.
Of course.
Caleb signs with Chelsea, heads out to Strasbourg. He battles injuries and such, and then he goes back from Strasbourg back into the chain, trains with the first team, loaned out to Watford. And by the way, he gets loaned out to Watford. So that's why I think that there's, in addition to just, Chelsea wanders into sharper image, and they sit there and it's like, oh, we want all these toys. We want the vibrating chair and the lava lamp and the radio operated helicopter and all of that stuff. And that's the way they operate. And it seems to me at times you get all the toys and then you don't use all the toys and they just kind of sit in a corner sometimes. That's kind of like my thing with Chelsea right now.
Yeah, philosophically, I don't disagree with you. Right. And, I think a lot of people have taken the same view, either permanently or sometimes one day they wake up and they're maybe optimistic, or they wake up and they're like, you know what, John is 100% right.
Wait, what?
Hey, it's Friday morning. You get wins too, my bro. But it's one of those things where, being a young player once myself, the opportunities for you that come your way that feel like validate your dreams, you're not going to say no to it, because this is a profession where we've seen crazier things happen and we've seen stars become household names in more fortuitous ways than this. So it's again an amazing thing. And all shout out to Benji Flowers, because how many teenagers are we talking about in this light and in this opportunity?
Yeah, well, I'd love for it to be more, and that's just me being selfish. But I mean, it's trust me, at baseline, I love the fact that FCD and Chelsea had enough interest in Benji Flowers to sit there and go, yes, we're interested. And then Chelsea comes knocking on your door. You're not going to sit there and say no. Like I said, I just worry about stunted growth and development. That's my biggest thing when it comes to this kind of stuff. So that's why I wanted to bring him up, because you got to see him and what the knowledge base is around it and all that kind of stuff. Okay. That was the MLS Next part of the program.
Yes, sir.
For those that may not know, I mean, you are you're still ambassadoring in Nashville, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you're hanging out there. So where are you right now? Where are you physically at this moment?
I am physically home in Nashville for the next couple of hours before I hop on the plane and join everybody in St. Louis.
Okay, so you get to go to the Pink Park and go and find out how things are with all caps, because I always feel like we have to say St. Louis City SC because it's in all capital letters.
I like that.
And that emphasis is always going to be there. And so you've got St. Louis, who went into the Turkish league, and they brought in a new DP in Hulsa, and they're trying to find someone that can add to that offense, which is, for various reasons been kind of stuttering this year. When you look at what you've seen from all caps, as we call them here on the show, what have you seen from St. Louis in study hall this week?
Listen, I've seen consistency in results. I've seen the ability to get the best out of what was formerly their roster before the summer.
Right.
And, I've seen their stadium, which is one of the best in MLS, hands down, bar none, be very happy with their exploits. I think when you look at leadership, right, closer to the top and then down, Corey Ray has done an excellent job to just kind of solidify things and get consistent results. So this is a market that I've always been, hoping to do better. And now that we're seeing, again, consistent results, I think the MLS fan who has a wider perspective should be happy with what's going on in St. Louis. And I know the local fans are definitely happy in speaking to them as well.
Yeah, and the focal point for those that may not necessarily know them is backwards and forwards. Right now is Marcel Hartel Holiday Inn.
Yeah,
when you look at what he's been able to do, leading goal scorer with 5 at the moment, and so they've had a lot of different folks score, but they haven't had the one guy who's been like close to double digits. Hartel has been the one that's been close. You've got Chris Durkin, Sangbin, Bashir, Edward Lewin, who is obviously battling injuries and other things too. It's just you want that offense to kickstart itself somehow. Do you think that Hulsa is going to be that guy? Obviously, the front office does, but I'm wondering about integration and how long it's going to take him to get integrated into what they want him to do.
That's always the question with transfers coming into the summer, right? If you flip it and go across the pond, it's transfers coming in the winter. It's not always the easiest thing. We've seen countless players that have come in with, amazing resumes or even off of like extremely hot form from wherever they were coming from. And then they come into MLS and sometimes they don't start balling out in the way that their resume reflects until the next season. Obviously, if you're in the St. Louis camp, you want that to happen sooner rather than later. I do think that he has the ability to be, another cog in the wheel that will make St. Louis that much more indefensible. Don't forget about the new signing in Alexandru Matan as well. That's my homie. We played together in Columbus. He has the ability to undress a defense individually, but also he can be that second, third, fourth link up player where if you're focused on Hartle and company, you're gonna lose at least one or two players either on the back post or top box. So I'd like to think they are more poised going into the second half of the season for signings, and it'll be interesting because if the building keeps rocking in the way that it's been rocking, it's going to continue to be a market that MLS fans, St. Louis fans, and the league will be happy about, to be fair.
And it's got some of the best food that you can ever find in a bunch of different pockets. Our friend Casey White, we've given her the scouting report about places to go and all the different pockets in St. Louis. So she's got her foodie map all lined up. I'm still trying to figure out why they don't have I'm from the Lou and I'm proud as their, like when they get the goal scoring going.
Yep.
You get Nelly going, I'm from the Lou and I'm proud. That's one of the things that was to me as a no-brainer, and I've yet to hear it. And I'm like, what are you people doing? You're sleeping at the wheel here, man.
Yeah, facts. I mean, there are a lot of Nelly tracks. There are a lot of St. Lunatics tracks. You could lace behind a goal. You could find me at St. Lou. Hey, you could do a lot with that. But listen, when it comes to how a club has been marketed, I think St. Louis has done an excellent job. Again, we talk about facilities often, and that has been a main recent attraction. When I say recent, the last 10-ish years in our league, right? It's one of the main ways that organizations, owners, CSOs, coaches have been able to track top-tier talent through the World Cup, through European exploits, foreign exploits. It's because of our facilities, and St. Louis is at the forefront of that. There's no way around it.
And then RSL comes to town, and they are a bunch of bad men. They I mean, look, and the thing is that they are young.
Yes, sir.
And they are young, and they're pains in the butt. I mean, Hezer Connie and Gozo, everybody looks at Diego Luna, yes.
Sure.
But that right-hand side of the attack, we got to see it early in the season here in Atlanta. You're looking at Hezer Connie and you're looking at Gozo and Solon's up top, and they just come at you in waves and waves. And they are serious trouble when they get into that rhythm that we've seen offensively.
Absolutely. And on the right-hand side, don't forget about the homie too, DeAndre Yedlin. When you need or when you have youthful exuberance on one side, it's helpful to have experience balanced with still that sprinkle of athleticism. So it's very difficult to, count out what they can do on just one side of the pitch. But you're absolutely right. I love the way that Gozo plays. I just love it. I look at, of course, the production, 6-4 from him, and just the front half of the season. He's, blown up the league, if you will. But I also like the way certain players move, the way their touch is, their balance, and when they look like they're just dynamic on just the first two touch and they circulate the ball. That's what I see from Gozo. I feel like there's obviously room still left for him to grow more and more clinical, more and more consistent in a given game. Sometimes he'll have a brace or whatever have you, or a goal. You feel like he could have 3 or 4. But at the end of the day, this is another young, bright star here that we have on our hands in MLS. And how long will he be here?
Okay. So then going into this particular matchup, give me not a shiny object. I don't want so who's paired with you in the booth?
I'm with Jonathan Yardley.
Okay. So you and Yardley are in the booth. I bump out Yardley for a second. I tell him to go get coffee or something.
Okay.
You and I do the open.
Okay.
So it comes up, Apple Open comes up, title over wide. They show what's going on. You're in the pink park, and we talk about, okay, team A, team B, and then we
Mhm.
always do like the players to watch.
Sure.
I don't want the shiny objects.
Okay.
I need somebody who's a foot soldier. I need somebody who's outside of the spotlight. Give me someone who would not be a player to watch that you and Yardley will have in your open,
Okay.
but a player to watch regardless that would not be in your open. Who would be your two players to watch, one on each side, that will not be the players to watch that you and Yardley are going to have in your open?
All right. For St. Louis, Durkin. And then on the flip, we already talked about it. It's going to be a Yedlin for me.
Mhm.
Like, and the reason why is so Durkin, for example, you have to have players that are able to do the dirty work and cover the ground, protect the back line when needed, but can also arrive in and around the box late. And if again, all of your focus is on Hartle and company, Durkin can still punish you as well, right? And then when we talk about what RSL does on the right hand side, again, solid or being solid rather is important. Knowing and understanding the ebbs and flows of MLS, knowing the ebbs and flows of getting a team back into gear off the back of the World Cup, whether you feature or not. DeAndre has done that for over a decade in multiple leagues, and obviously starting here. And he's very comfortable with the leadership and Kirk Schmidt and whatnot, who has known him since he was Gozo's age and younger, right? So I look at those two who in many ways are MLS leaders, MLS greats, obviously, to be the players that their team relies on. And those kind of like moments where either the game lulls off or the novice fan like goes to get something to drink or popcorn or whatever. But those are actually the moments where you can win and lose matches for real.
J&J Football Factory, Jonathan Yardley and Jalil Anibaba. They're going to be
And John Nelson in it.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, it's true. But y'all two are going to be at the Pink Park in St. Louis. I am not. I'm going to be back here watching Atlanta and Philly, but 8:40 kick Eastern time. All caps SC, otherwise known as St. Louis City, taking on RSL. Since you're there in Nashville, one Nashville question before we get out of here. When you look at Nashville, the attack is borderline ridiculous, but we know that going in.
Yep.
If you were on defense,
okay,
going up against Nashville,
yep,
how would you defend what we see on a match-by-match basis out there from BJ Callahan? He gets his starting 11 of 11s out there the way that he wants.
Yeah.
How would you defend that attack going forward?
Oh, that's a difficult question because for once in Nashville SC's history, which obviously I know about, playing for the club and living here essentially since I wasn't a member in the locker room, is that they have a three-headed monster with help underneath that, right? So a lot of times, or in a large part of the club's history, it was if you can keep Hani Mukhtar off the score sheet, you're going to win, right? Not just tie. You're going to win the game, most likely. Then Sam Surridge pulls up. Once he got really flowing, it was a two-headed monster. You focus on Hani Mukhtar, Sam Surridge is going to kill you on the back post. Now you have Christian Espinosa on the right-hand side. When he's healthy, whipping in crosses, we've known what that looks like in Nashville and in San Jose. But the X factor, if not the most important player on the offensive side of the ball as far as facilitation is concerned for Nashville, is Andy Nahar. So if you're really asking me what are you going to do to defend them, pick two players of those four and try to stop them. And of course, you would want to go for Sam Surridge and Hani Mukhtar first. I would man mark Hani Mukhtar, and then Sam Surridge. All I would do is tell anybody on the weak side to make sure that your alarm clock is not set. It's constantly on.
No snooze button allowed going up against Sam Surridge.
No,
I will file this away, and we will have this as evidence in the case file going up against Nashville for the remainder of the season. Since we are an animal supportive zone here, by the way, I have our resident guard dog underneath the table, and he is making sure that no one, the rowdy man is making sure that no one comes into the office unless they have the proper tariff. Who is it that you have there that has been making sure that no one bothers you during this studio segment?
I have my dog, but he's in the other side of the house. So
I know, that's it. And he was making sure that everybody knew that he was there.
yeah, 100%. My wife is holding things down so that we can, not be bum rushed by Moxie, but it's all good.
Look, that's the thing. If Moxie comes bum rushes, that's perfectly fine. We are an animal plus zone. We embrace those kinds of things. So once again, you and Yardley in St. Louis, may your plane get there in one piece. May you find all of the food on the hill that you wish to eat. It's a great venue, although it's too small. It's a great venue, the Pink Park. You have a great call this weekend. And now that you know how to come in, you can come in. Literally, you know where the key is under the mat. You know where the garage door opener is. You want to sit there and go, yo, Nelson, I got to come in, vent my spleen about something. You know how to do it, my friend. Just let me know. And say hi to our boy Lucas next time that you see him, eh?
Will do.
All right. Jalil, Anibaba, thanks for dropping by. And have a great call this weekend. We'll see you on the flip side.
Thanks a lot, brother.
All right, there he goes. Jalil Anibaba, that was good. That was a plus. So now he is now a part of the family. He is now part of La Familia. He is now in. First time that he's been in, he's here. And that was great to catch up with Jalil. All right, so it is now time to go through everything. Juice boxes, start times, all that. J&J Soccer Factory, Football Factory. They're the ones that are going to be doing that one. All right, so it is time to look at matchups. And we actually have one tonight, by the way. And we will go through everything with our friends with Pro, and we'll let you know who's doing what where and all the things. And fried ravioli, you're just making me jealous. Okay, as of about an hour ago also, Chelsea's been fined £10 million but avoid a points deduction after an FA investigation. Simon Hughes and Simon Johnson at the Athletic fined $13.4 million, given a suspended transfer ban following an investigation into 74 alleged breaches of the FA's regulations. Initially hit with a suspended 6-point deduction by an independent regulatory commission, handed out the punishments before this was overturned on appeal. Chelsea instead given a 2-window transfer ban, suspended until June 30 of 2027. The FA can apply to activate the ban if any Chelsea transactions are deemed to have potentially committed any similar breaches. FA charged Chelsea in September for breaches related to their agent regulations, regulations on working with intermediaries, and third-party investment and player regulations. Breaches relate to a period. This feels like such UNLV. The breaches relate to a period of time between 2009 and 2022. I mean, this is Abramovich era, but still. 2009 and 2022. So they're going back retroactively 17 years. 17 years, people. 17 years. Seriously. Primarily events that occurred between 2010-11 and 2015-16 when Roman Abramovich was still owner of Chelsea, according to the FA. Admitted to the 74 breaches of FA Rule E1.2 prior to a hearing. I'm going to do this in my official voice. And an independent regulatory commission imposed a 6-point deduction, which was to be suspended until 30 June 2027 and a £10 million fine. The club appealed against the suspended points deduction, and an independent appeal board allowed the appeal and set aside the sanction following a further hearing. In its place, the appeal board imposed a registration ban for 2 complete and consecutive transfer windows, which is suspended until 30 June 2027. Period, end quote. Continuing to investigate individual misconduct arising out of the case. Paragraph. Brings the amount of money Chelsea been fined to more than £18 million after UEFA imposed a €10 million sanction in July of 23 on the same offenses. Abramovich disqualified by the Premier League in March of 22, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine the previous month. Chelsea said last year their current owners, Bowley Clearlake, self-reported the issue in a, quote, due diligence process, revealed potentially incomplete financial reporting concerning historical transactions and other potential breaches of FA rules. The club called their cooperation unprecedented transparency. Separate case, they were also handed a suspended 1-year ban from signing first-team players, given a £10 million fine from the Premier League back in March relating to breaches of financial rules during Abramovich's time as owner. So, going back 17 years, 17 years, people. Tigres is now chasing also after Alan Velasco. They're targeting the Boca footballer to replace Angel Correa. Herman Garcia Grova. Keep that in mind this morning as well. Let's see. Austin FC have signed Jorge Alastui to a first-team contract from the second team. They've extended keeper Vessel Spiel, loaning him to Almere City FC. And trying to see what else is out there this morning before we get into the other news and things that are available to us this morning. Oh, Emily Sonnet ruled out for the season from Gotham. Underwent season to repair the ruptured patella tendon in her left knee, missing the remainder of the 26 NWSL season. Suffered the injury at Providence Park early in the first half of the past Friday 2-2 draw with Portland Thorns. 64 appearances for Gotham since signing ahead of the 24 campaign. 3 trophies. 25 NWSL Championship, 25 CONCACAF W Champions Cup, 26 NWSL Challenge Cup. Only player in NWSL history to have won a league championship with 3 different clubs, Gotham, Spirit, Thorns. So she is going to miss the remainder of the 26th season, according to the club. So that came out this morning as well. Let's see. Okay, let's go through the mail and we'll let you know what else is going on here this morning. Okay, let's go juice boxes and let you know what the matchups are, and we will get you fired up today. So 7:40 kick, NYC and Toronto FC, and that one is a minus 149 for NYC. Draw is a plus 290, and Toronto FC is a plus 409 in that one. So that one tonight is at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. So it'll be another match week where you have more than one soccer match in the Bronx. After Liverpool and Wrexham, they just decided to keep the 110/68 and keep it as it is. So Toronto FC gets to play in the futsal on the 12-year-old futsal field, and there you go. So that one is laid out there tonight. So then tomorrow in your juice boxes in Major League Soccer, we'll go through all the juice boxes and we'll go back and let you know who the officials are, and we will analyze Philadelphia and Atlanta's ref crew in a bit. Philadelphia favored at a minus 143, draws a plus 309. Atlanta United's a plus 350. Other 740s. CF Montreal, a plus 110, hosting the Revs at a plus 229, draws a plus 270. Messi and Friends hosting Crew at a minus 143. Draws a plus 350, Crew are a plus 340. DC United hosting Nashville at a plus 210. Nashville a plus 129 on the road as a favorite. Draws a plus 250. FC Cincinnati, San Jose, the game that Kanji and Higgy Baby are calling. And that one is a minus 108 to Cincinnati, which is interesting. Draws a plus 340. San Jose is a plus 240. Vancouver hosting LA at a minus 105. Draws a plus 300. LAFC is a plus 240. Red Bulls hosting the Purple Team at a plus 114. The draw is a plus 320. Orlando City is a plus 188. 840. Chicago a minus 179. Draws a plus 359. Charlotte a plus 409. Sporting Kansas City a plus 210. Hosting Dynamo at a plus 120. Draw is a plus 260. Loons hosting San Diego FC at an even money plus 100. Draws a plus 300. San Diego FC is a plus 240. And Jalil and Jonathan's matchup is a plus 110 to the home team. That's interesting. RSL is a plus 220. And the draw is a plus 290. 940. It is Colorado hosting Austin FC at a minus 133. Draws a plus 300. Austin FC is a plus 333. 1040. It is LAG hosting FC Dallas. LAG is a plus 120. Draws a plus 290. FCD is a plus 200. 1055 start. Cascadia, Portland and Seattle at a plus 114. Seattle is a plus 200 on the road. Draw is a plus 285. So now that lends us to where we are with the Cruise and your match day assignments for 19. Tonight at Yankee Stadium, Remy Touchon, the man in the middle, Lias Arfa, Brian Marshall, your ARs. Pierre-Luc Lozier is your fourth. Edvin Jurasevich and Joshua Patlak are upstairs. Tomorrow, FC Cincinnati, San Jose, Victor Rivas is the man in the middle. Ian McKay, Brian Dunn, your ARs. Sergei Demyanchuk is your fourth. Ismir Pekmich and Jonathan Johnson are upstairs, having Sergei Demyanchuk as the man in between. Bruce Arena and Pat Noonan should be its own camera. DC United in Nashville. Ricardo Montero Araya is the man in the middle. Nick Uranga, Ben Regal are your ARs. JC Griggs is your fourth. Jeff Gamble and TJ Zablocki are upstairs. Messi and friends and crew at New Stadium. By the way, their third jersey, their new alternate, is choice. Torrey Penso, Brooke Mayo, Corey Rockwell. Marcus de Oliveira is your fourth. JC Rivero and Claudio Badea are upstairs. CF Montreal and the Revs. Jair Marufo is the man in the middle. Adam Garner, Jeffrey Greason, your ARs. Renzo Villanueva is your fourth. Kevin Terry Jr., Robert Schapp are upstairs. Red Bull and Orlando City, the purple team. In Harrison, Philip Dujic is the man in the middle. However, Catherine Nesbitt and Oscar Mitchell Carvalho are your ARs. Pierre-Luc Lozier is your fourth, so he's busy. Terrell-Ann Chenard and Craig Lowry are upstairs. Pierre-Luc Lozier just gets to go across the river. Philadelphia and Atlanta. Alan Chapman, the man in the middle. Chris Elliott, your AR, along with Eric Weisbrod. Rosendo Mendoza is your fourth. Alexandra Billiter and Mike Camp-Minert are upstairs. I think this is the first time that Alexandra Billiter has been a VAR this year. Vancouver and LAFC, Alahio Adegin is the man in the middle. Kyle Atkins is your AR. Chris Wadham is the other AR. Alan Ruck is your fourth. Kevin Stott and Jeff Mushik are upstairs. Chicago and Charlotte, John Freeman, no relation, man in the middle. Andrew Bigelow, Nick Balser, your ARs. Colin Radosov is your fourth. Edvin Jurasevich, Joshua Patlak are upstairs. Sporting in Houston, Sergi Boyko is the man in the middle. Jeff Swartzel, Matthew Schwartz, your ARs. Drew Klemp is the fourth. Michael Radchuk, John Krill are upstairs. Timothy Ford at Allianz for Minnesota United and San Diego FC. Jose de Silva, Gerard Kader Lebuy are your ARs. Aleo Kalume is your fourth. Lucas Zapala and Tom Supple are upstairs. St. Louis City and RSL. Chris Penso in the middle. Megan Mullen, Mike Nickerson, your ARs. Laura Rodriguez is your fourth. Eunice Marakchi and Fabio Tovar are upstairs. Colorado and Austin. Armando Villarreal in the middle. Felicia Mariscal, Callie Smith, your ARs. Mark Verso is your fourth. Daniel Radford, Tom Felice are upstairs. LAG and FCD. Fotis Bazakis is in the middle. Matthew Nelson, Eduardo Jeff, your ARs. Matt Thompson is your fourth. Jeff Gamble, TJ Zablocki are upstairs. And Portland and Seattle gets Joe Dickerson in the middle. Jeremy Hansen, Logan Brown, your ARs. Lorenzo Hernandez, your fourth. Caroline Chenard and Craig Lowry are upstairs. Just so you know, the other assignments in this match day. MLS Next Pro assignments for Week 22. William Hale is going to be the man in the middle for Atlanta United 2 and Core. Jason White and Katarzyna Wasiak are your ARs, and Alexandru Fochea is listed as your fourth. Last time, though, put that in pencil because the officials that were listed were not the officials that were on the field because of the time change. Although 3 hours of a change shouldn't make that much of a difference. This is the crew listed for 2 and Core this afternoon, 4 o'clock from the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, 3:30 pregame, 4 o'clock on the network. And it's going to be Maddie on the call. I'll have your pre, and I will have your halftime and also stuff going on in the hydration breaks. So I'll be hosting. Maddie will be calling. William Hale, Jason White, Katarzyna Wasiak, and Alexandru Fochea are listed as the officials in the rundown for the afternoon. So let's take a peek and look at ref stats. And we will do this for Alan Chapman. It won't be hard to find because Alan's usually at the back of the bus when it comes to his statistics. 13 matches, and the number of fouls he has called per match is dead last, 17.62. He is a full 2 fouls away from Torrey Penso, who is next to last in fouls called per match. Sergi Boyko is second to last at 20, so that's 2.28. He is 3.38 away from Jair Marufo, who is 30th of 33. So Alan Chapman has called 13 matches, 17.62 fouls. He is dead last in fouls called per match. Fouls called per tackle, dead last, 0.56. He is 700ths away from Sergi Boyko. Then you get into penalties per game, and he actually has called some penalties this season. So it is an opportunity for him to be 14th, middle of the pack at 0.31. So in 13 matches, he has called three penalties, 2 penalties. 0.31 would be 3 or 4. So he's called, he's called at least one for every 3 or 4 matches. So penalties per game, middle of the pack. Yellows per match, he should be at the absolute back, but he's not. 3.08 yellows per match, he's 30th. Marcus de Oliveira, Brandon Stevis, and Jair Marufo are 31, 2, and 3. 40 yellows in 13 matches. He has 3 reds in 13 matches. So that's what to keep an eye on with Alan Chapman. Once again, last in fouls called per tackle, middle of the pack when it comes to penalties per match. He's called 4, I believe, in 13 matches. And then once again, 3.08 yellows per game puts him 30th. And he's called 3 reds in his 13 matches this year. So don't expect a lot of fouls called. Don't expect, well, I would expect by comparison a couple of yellows. And do not be surprised if you end up with penalties. So that's the byline for Alan Chapman so far this season in Major League Soccer. So that's what to keep an eye on for, according to our friends at Who Scored, that is statistically where Alan Chapman has been this year. So Morning Abby, and we are going to add to the Restream block list, Satisfied Participation HV. Wiley, yes, they built the stadium too small. They absolutely did. Good morning. Morning Kefsey, Abby, Unk, and let's see, Alex is in this morning. Wiley is in this morning. Abby, and let's see, Will is in this morning. And let's see, who else is in this morning? David is in this morning. And trying to see who else is here that has dropped into the Twitch pitch, although I know that there are far more of you that just kind of watch and hang out, which is very cool. I'm glad that you always do. So that is the rundown of folks who are having conversations with us in the Twitch pitch this morning. Okay, let's get into the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Then we'll get you into the headlines, and we will walk you through everything that is going on today. Let's see. So if we look at, so we mentioned Chelsea. So Alakli linked Arne Slot is focused on a job in Europe. We knew about that. Arsenal is confident in signing Bruno Guimaraes. Franco Baresi passes away at the age of 66. And Cole Palmer, when he was asked about watching England at the World Cup, he says, I fell asleep. So he fell asleep. So, okay. Good for you, Cole Palmer. I don't quite see you being called up anytime soon when it comes to the national team. All right, so let's get you into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and then what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And we will take a peek through our friends at the 4-letter, because that's where we always go for all of our information when it comes to this particular time of year. And look at, see, and you sit there and it's like, I want to do a certain thing, and then it sits there and it's like, well, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to do this, and you're going to do it this way. So, thanks for opening all that for me. Now, your transfer news, first off, we get into the trending rumors, and we get into all of that, and then we list the sources where this stuff comes from, just so we're all on the same page. and we can gauge the information appropriately. Manchester City closing in on signing Ayoub Bouadi out of Morocco, according to Nicolas Shira, one step away from leaving Lille to join Premier League giants Manchester City. Personal terms already agreed. A transfer fee has not been reported. Lille were previously demanding about €80 million for Bouadi. Real Madrid confident of reaching an agreement to sign Rodri after holding positive talks with the Spanish international, according to AS. Personal terms understood to be in place. The La Liga side now focusing on agreeing on a transfer fee with City, who've already rejected an initial approach. Madrid remain optimistic the deal can be completed. Rodri keen on returning to Spain after entering the final year of his contract at the Etihad. Inter Milan ready to step up with their pursuit of Curtis Jones if David Fertesi leaves the club this summer, according to Gazzetta. Serie A champs have identified the England international as their priority midfield target, expected to revive negotiations with Liverpool once funds become available through player exits. Jones has been on their short list for several months, although clubs remain apart in their valuations. Talks continue over a potential deal. Juve closing in on the signing of Bayer Leverkusen attacker Karim Alibegovic, according to Fabrizio Romano. The Bosnia-Herzegovina international starred for his nation once again at the World Cup. Final negotiations with Juve after a €35 million transfer fee negotiated between the two clubs. Alibegovic, who, remind you, is only 18, spent last season on loan at RB Salzburg, where he scored 9 in 28 matches. PSG making good progress in their pursuit of Parma keeper Zion Suzuki, according to Foot Mercato. Contact established between all parties involved. PSG now keen to make an official offer. Suzuki, who starred for Japan at the World Cup, could be sent straight out on loan should the European champs sign him. Matvei Safonov likely to remain their first-choice keeper. Juve have already got a bid for Suzuki turned down by Parma, potentially opening the door for PSG this year. So looking at everything past the rumor stage, Arsenal been approached by AC Milan regarding a potential deal for Ethan Nwaneri, according to Matteo Moretto. Reported Milan have made an inquiry for the 19-year-old competition from multiple Premier League clubs, including Everton. 2 goals in 9 Liga appearances on loan at Marseille last season, starting just 3 matches. Also, it is, United interested in Juve winger Francisco Conceição, according to Nicolas Shira, said that United made an inquiry for the 23-year-old, whom Juve will be willing to part ways with this summer. Tuttosport reports an offer worth at least €50 million would be required to land him. Could be competition from several Premier League clubs contacted by his agent Jorge Mendes. Shira also reports United have been tracking AC Milan winger Rafa Leao as a potential alternative option for the back line. Arsenal-Liverpool exploring a move for Maxi Araujo from Sporting, according to the 3-letter paper. Reported both clubs have been contacted by the 26-year-old Uruguay international reps regarding a deal. They want to consider whether he could be a strong fit for their squads before progressing further. Sporting said to be looking for an offer worth at least £51.5 million to part ways, already identifying replacements. Real Madrid winger Franco Mastantuono on the radar of AS Roma and Fiorentina, according to Diario AS. Madrid believed to be prioritizing a season-long loan move for the 18-year-old to get more playing time. Clubs in Serie A leading the race for him. 23 La Liga appearances last season, linked with Fulham. Also said that the Cottagers have been focused on other signings, including striker Gonzalo Garcia, whom the Premier League club agreed to a £34 million deal for on Thursday. Borussia Mönchengladbach and USMNT attacking midfielder Gio Reyna, getting interest from Strasbourg. Negotiations reportedly ongoing with the 23-year-old's reps amid the belief the Bundesliga club's willing to part ways with him, and linked with an exit from the club along with compatriot Joe Scally after making 4 starts last season. Fulham's looking to rebuild their squad from a 12th place finish. Arsenal increasingly confident in signing Bruno Guimaraes from now following the exit of Eddie Howe, according to James Ollie at the 4-letter. Made Arsenal more optimistic with the exit that they can make a deal. Fee has not been agreed. Sources tell the 4-letter moves in excess of £70 million. Let's see. We mentioned Ayoub Bouadi, James Trafford, and he is out of, obviously, Manchester City. And so now it looks like Marseille keeper Geronimo Rulli might be taking his place. Trafford's nearing a £40 million move to Leeds United. Mundo Deportivo, Barcelona remain in talks with Al Hilal regarding a deal for Joao Cancelo. PSG keeping tabs on Porto attacking midfielder Rodrigo Mora. 3-letter paper, Manchester United have identified Newcastle left-back Lewis Hall as a long-term replacement for Luke Shaw. Deportivo again. Atleti remain interested in Ferran Torres at Barca. The Telegraph, Barcelona keeper Marc-Andre ter Stegen closing in on a move at Ajax. Corriere dello Sport, Inter Milan discussing a 40 million euro move with Spurs defender Christian Romero. Sky Deutschland, Bayern Munich could consider a loan move away from the club for winger Brian Zaragoza. Bola, Benfica defender Antonio Silva set to complete a switch to Bournemouth on Friday. Napoli in talks with Chelsea regarding a loan deal for defender Benoit Badiashile. That's from Nicolo Schira. Includes an option to make the move permanent for around 20 million euro. Ben Jacobs reinforcing once again. Forest, Everton, Bournemouth interested in Dinamo Kyiv defender Taras Mikavko. L'Equipe, Brentford closing in on a deal to sign Lens midfielder Mamadou Sangare. So that is the most up-to-date rumors as of 35 minutes ago. So let's check our normal daily sourcings and find out what it looks like there with our buddy Ben Jacobs and find out that his fingers are traditionally very, very busy when it comes to typing and such. Sammy Smodix is going to join Derby from Ipswich on a season-long loan with an obligation to buy. Could rise as high as £5.5 million if Derby get promoted lower if they don't. And let's see. Player. PSG had agreed on a 50 million euro deal for Magnus Akliush, according to Abdelabolma and Lemeshinua. They both called it. PSG viewed the price as a fantastic deal, given Monaco initially asked for 65 million euro plus add-ons. Small matters to resolve before Akliush is given permission to undergo his medical. The approach for Curtis Jones by Inter is their third, according to James Hardcastle. It is Manchester United kicking the tires on Lewis Hall. Let's see. Newcastle insists the plan for Bruno Guimaraes was always to have him train in La Manja from Monday, but those close to the player told TalkSport asked to delay his trip as he closes in on a move to Arsenal. Ben says it's worth noting this is not the same as Alexander Isak. If Arsenal can't finalize a deal in the next days, Guimaraes will return in time for Monday training, the first session he was due to be involved in. He has no desire to go on strike. West Ham in advanced talks with Celtic to sign midfielder Arne Engels. Antonio Silva, once again, given permission to undergo his Bournemouth medical at 25 plus 5 in euros. That's the package that's been agreed to by Benfica. And I think we're caught up internationally. Let's see if we're caught up domestically after Tom had mentioned this morning Max Arfston and Middlesbrough. And let's see, going to the top of the order, $7.5 million, including add-ons. Kruger to sell on. Arfston expected to travel to complete the move. So now Middlesbrough has Max Arfston coming. They've got Aidan Morris. They've got Sebastian Berhalter. They've got Adelson Malanda. And they've got Riley McGree, technically a former Charlotte midfielder, though he never made an appearance in Major League Soccer. Abby, great to see you as always. We will catch up with you soon. So that is the domestic element in all of this. I believe that catches us all up on those. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it before we check the papers and let you know what else is going on. As always, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important, helps us out, helps them out, and helps you out with all of your streaming services and all of your desires to watch everything in South America. You get Middle East and North America from our friends at BN Sports. You get all the BNs, which means you get Sudamericana. And if you watched Sudamericana last night, you got to see Boca survive O'Higgins. And you also got to see in the LPF, you got to see Independiente and Newell's go at it last night. You could have watched that on Fanati's. And BN Sports gives you right now all the Sudamericana you want. You've got WAFCON. You had a big upset. Ali Howarth, we're going to try and catch up with him next week because the group stage has been crazy, and we'll get his input on said group stage next week. You get WAFCON, you get AFC, you get AFCON. You get all the Olympic qualifying tournaments. Doesn't matter what the age group is. You get French League, Turkish League, Polish League already underway. And that is part of what you get with BN. You get TVV out of Venezuela, CDO Plus out of Chile, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You get links to Tigo Sports. You get links to CATV. You get TSA out of Argentina, which means you get Copa Argentina. You get a lot of the A and B divisions in a lot of countries in South America. You just got to be very, very nimble when it comes to wanting to watch things. it'll be there even if it's not tied to a network. Today, CBS Sports Network, Scottish Premiership, Dundee United and Rangers at 3 o'clock. U.S. and Cuba, the end of match day 3. U.S. wins the match. They win that match. Obviously, they would win the group. They would have a 3 wins, 3 appearances, 9 points. They would win their group that they are in and advance to the knockouts. They play Cuba at 10 o'clock. Liga MX, FS2, Juarez and Puma at 11 o'clock. Simulcast on Universo. Golazo Network, 9 o'clock. USL Championship, San Antonio, Indy 11. Fox Soccer Plus. El Salvador and Haiti is at 5 o'clock. Paramount Plus has the Scottish Premiership and the USL Championship. NWSL Amazon Prime has Courage and Pride at 8 o'clock tomorrow. CBS Sports Network, friendly, Manchester City and Internazionale at 7:30 in the morning. Scottish Premiership begins, doubleheader, 10 and 12:30, Aberdeen and Hearts at 12:30. ESPN2, USL Championship, Tampa Bay and Lou City at 8. FS1, they've got Cascadia late night, Portland and Seattle. CONCACAF U20s on FS2 at 4 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Canada at 4 o'clock with Jamaica. Honduras, Panama at 9 o'clock. Bien Espanol has the Portuguese Super Cup, Porto and Torreense. Remember their run that they had last year. That's at 3:15 tomorrow afternoon. Club friendlies, Fox Deportes, 7:30. Real Madrid, Fiorentina at noon. Girona, Arsenal at 2. And Cascadia. 2 to NA is at Sábado Futbolero, 7, 9, and 11. Univision is simulcasting. Apple TV has all the games at 7:30. We went through juice boxes, all 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 to go with the match tonight. Golazo Network friendly early in the morning. Chelsea and Spurs at 5:45 for those of you up early. Northern Super League, 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Calgary and AFC Toronto. All the games in USL Championship. All the games in USL League 1. The final in USL League 2, Flint City and Vermont Green. That is at 7:30. Fox ONE has the club friendlies. They've got Liga MX. They've got CPL. They've got U20. They've got MLS. Fox Soccer Plus has Canadian Premier League at Vancouver and ATLUTD Ottawa at 6. MLSNextPro.com and One Football have your 4 matches in MLS Next Pro on tomorrow. Paramount Plus, the friendly with Chelsea, the doubleheader with the Premiership. Veeks has Leon and Pachuca at 9 o'clock. NWSL, their triple header is CBS Sports Network at 4. Ion doubleheader, 6:30 and 8:45, and that gets you into Sunday, which means Wrexham and Sunderland a friendly. Deportes has a friendly with Liverpool and Leeds. Argentina at 4 o'clock with Newell's and Boca Juniors. Copa do Brasil, doubleheader Liga MX. ESPN Plus with the friendlies. Fox ONE, Argentina, Copa do Brasil, and CPL. Fox Soccer Plus, CPL. MLS Next Pro on One Football, MLS Next Pro, and the Major League Soccer League YouTube channel. Paramount Plus on the Premiership doubleheader. Veeks, Liga MX Femenil. Women's side, NWSL. CBS Sports Network in the afternoon. ESPN at night. ESPN Deportes simulcasting as well as ESPN Plus. And it is not going to be on Victory because of non-payment. So that is your rundown for the weekend, brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. So let's check your headlines, see if we've missed anything on the way out the door. And let's see. Mihajlo Mudryk has been cleared to play for Chelsea again after his doping ban has been lifted. So we'll see what happens there. De Zerbi still wants 2 or 3 more players after a £237 million spending spree. And let's see. Amanda Staveley's consortium is close to buying 25% stake in West Ham. Arsenal's looking at agreeing to close to £80 million on the deal for Bruno Guimaraes. And I was trying to see if there's anything else that I might have skipped over. I think we're okay from the times. Let me go to the Guardian really quickly, and we'll see what we have here. And we mentioned the Chelsea fines. Maxence Lacroix has joined Chelsea. Let's see. So it looks like Gisela is on his way to Newcastle from the Saudi Pro League. The Premier League did agree on the proposal to share an extra $1.5 billion with the EFL clubs. They did agree on that. They voted unanimously for the new deal of football. Paul McGuinness at the Guardian, and it looks like $1.5 billion being shared on top of the $1.6 billion currently distributed every 3 years. Some of the money's put into discrete funds and a lifeboat is what it's being called. So covering extra costs, Premier League clubs reportedly agreed to raise the transfer levy applied to all top flight deals from 4 to 6%. Manchester City initially opposed. And so right now that's what it looks like. And I think 80%, I think it's 80% to the championship, 12% to League One, 8% to League Two. I think that's your rundown there of the percentages. So that is probably the biggest news there. WSL is going to bring back Sunday evening kickoffs. So keep an eye on that. London City will be a story worth keeping an eye on. And I think that gets us to the end of another week. I think it does. So what that means is that it is going to be, once again, another large. Okay, so this is also interesting. Now, add this to your thoughts. It looks like, and depending on if you believe the Twitters, file this away before we go. Union Berlin in talks to sign Latte Lot after UK visa issues ruled out a return to Middlesbrough, according to the four-letter paper. So keep an eye on Union Berlin now and Latte Lot. So reminder, 3:30 this afternoon, pregame show from the Children's Healthcare Atlanta Training Ground. I'll have that for you. Maddie will have the call. Carolina Core and the twos. MLS Next Pro, soccerdownhere.net. Hit the listen tab. You can listen to us for that matchup. Then Mike and Jason heading to Philly to catch up with our buddy Dave Leno, and that will be part and parcel to our coverage here on the weekend. 6:30 pregame, Maddie and Abe, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app, Five Stripes Countdown, 7:40 kick, and then the postgame show after on the full-time report to break down everything that happens with Atlanta and Philly, and that will get us into Leagues Cup week, and that'll get us into other things, and we'll talk about it all as we go forward here with everything attached to Atlanta United. So that is all that I think we got. I mentioned Mikhailo Mudryk before we got out of here, and I think that covers it. So once again, another big week here for us at SDH. Can't thank all of our guests. Can't thank all of you folks enough for hanging out with us as you always do. And so what that means on a Friday is we wrap up the only way that we do when it comes to a Friday. And of course, it's always down at the bottom of the ladder. Here it is. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. We'll catch up with you 3:30 pregame this afternoon. Children's Healthcare Atlanta program training ground here on the SDH Network 2s in Carolina Core.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours. Be gone.